Alright, it's come to the point where I'm realizing, like a lot of YouTubers, that, you know, it's, uh, it's gotta be a calculated, channel. The channel has to be calculated, or else you end up with, no, a lot. There's potential problems with reputation. There's frustration with demonetization. If people get I'm not monetizing mine, but let's cut to the chase here. I'm going to try to organize myself and produce a channel which is on the same topic, only not as personal. And therefore, I first of all can build a channel the way it should be built, and I can talk about the exact same things without personalizing it, without having you to look at my face. Because what I want to do, I already know. It's a great channel. It's psychology based. I haven't seen anyone who's done it. It does take a lot of work for every episode, but I'm prepared. It goes along very well, as a companion to my writing, which I will be doing this summer, and as well as my Trauma Circles website. I'm going to try to start in the next video. I'm going to keep this channel so I can continue to talk to you, because I'm going to admit it. I'm messed up. I mean, I'm programmed with a glitch. I experienced it this morning. I was raging. I woke up. The weather was bad, and I'm not going to try to explain, but from the weather being bad, I started thinking about Mother Nature. I think about Mother Nature, and I started thinking about my mother and how she screwed me up, and how every time I'd be succeeding, she'd sneak in there without me knowing, because I trusted her. I believed in her. She had done many great things for me in my life. She's my mother. She raised me, and she raised me to have a conscience. So, lo and behold, I never would have thought that she didn't have one. So, and then I get angry. And then going from anger towards my mother, I spread it out to women in general most of the time. And not women in general, but women in the Me Too movement. And not because it holds any specific interest to me. I haven't been affected by it. But it is one of the reasons why I'm not going back into the workforce. I am not going to be able to go in as someone with post-traumatic stress disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, borderline personality disorder, and a huge trauma right behind me. I'm not going to be able to go into another office setting with young men and young women dressed in their suit and tie, all trying to, rise up the ladder, as if at the top of the ladder there's some kind of paradise, which I can tell them now, and many of you know who've been there, there's no paradise. Look at Donald Trump. He's at the top of the top of the top of the ladder. I wouldn't want to be him for $1 billion and 1,000 beautiful women. His life looks like a living hell to me. Now, that's just probably because I have no real psychopathic tendencies. I don't want control. I want wisdom and intelligence and experience. Anyways, look, I have raging insanity, and I have also a great deal of self-censorship and self-sabotage, and all these things I can see now from studying myself. I spent 2 years studying spent the first year studying my parents, and the next year studying my ex-girlfriend, and like the next year studying them both together. And just looking at myself, it's like I think this is what it is. I'll tell you. I have the urge to kill, violent fantasies, just the urge to destroy. But then I have regret and remorse, and it comes very quickly. It's not like they last more than a few seconds, maybe a minute. But during that minute, if I'm outside in public, I mean, there's a 50-50 chance I'm getting arrested if a cop goes by while I'm doing it. Someone's flagging him and I'm getting pulled in, or I'm getting spoken to. It's happened to me. I've been in the back of cop cars probably 100 times in my life, more than many people. And never for major crimes, but starting when I was 11 years old. I have a lot of things in my past that I've unrepressed and remember from my teenage years, which would point definitely to me being a potential predatory psychopath. I mean, I don't want to talk about that on the videos. That's going to be in my book because it's very personal and it's very revealing. And most people would be crazy to reveal this about themselves. But within the context of personality disorders, I really think there's got to be a lot of more people who come up and say, hey, this is why I think I have it exactly. And it seems like they just say, well, I was traumatized. Well, I was this. Well, you know what? That's just not enough. It's not going to explain everything, really. My conclusion on my rage, and my brother's rage, is that it was directed towards my father. We were really, really young, right? Before we can talk, before we can do anything, he's sexually abusing us. And we were in pain, and we hated him, and we wanted to kill him. And when you're that young, and you don't have words, you don't have logic, you don't have anything, you're basically just a bag of growing neurons. And you don't even have personality at that age. You may have characteristics that babies are born with, but, when you're 1 year old, so you have this desire to destroy. It's not to kill. The thing I feel is destroy. It's just, whether it's killing someone or blowing up a building, or, that's the impulse that comes to mind, even at the slightest provocation. This is not like necessarily a political or misogynist kind of drive. No, it's even if I drop my pencil while I'm working hard and I'm getting somewhere, and the pencil drops and I can't continue my thought, I'll for a minute just want to just kill the pencil. And sometimes I will. I'll just crack it. So that's like the worst of me. It doesn't get worse than that. I've never actually hit anybody. I've never actually desired to hurt anybody that I've known. It's only these unknown symbols, which may relate to the fact that I couldn't really put a face to what I wanted to kill until recently. I didn't understand why I hated my father my entire life, but I always did. I was always scared of him. I was waking up as a child thinking there was a bear in my room and staying under the covers and urinating in my pants instead of looking out to make sure the bear wasn't there. I was so scared. I never understood that. Now I know why. He was coming in the middle of the night while I was a toddler, and my mother was asleep, and he was sexually abusing me. And my poor brother is now deceased because of the whole tragedy. So, but he was never my primary object. He was not my primary caregiver. So although my personality complex derives from that desire to kill, I still have a conscience, because it wasn't my mother I wanted to kill. It was an unknown assailant, so to speak. And someone who really remained unknown to me my whole life. I never really got to know him. So it's not like I ever really wanted to kill somebody that I actually knew, which is probably why I'm not like a psychopath who, the closer they get to someone, the more they want to kill them. If it was my mother that I had these feelings for, if she was abusing me, God forbid, sexually or physically, I'm sure I'd have some serious fucking problems. I wouldn't have a conscience. There would be no one in my mind that I would default to after the initial reaction of hatred, disgust, and wanting to destroy. Because that's just an impulse that I get from everything, and then I get a conscience, and I don't do it. Or I don't go far. But it doesn't seem to be going away. It seems like the only way I can get control of it is to medicate myself into oblivion. Not amphetamines. Amphetamines keep me who I am, but the meds that keep me from raging, they also seem to destroy myself. I don't feel myself. In the end of the day, this is me. I do rage. I am angry. I would like to get control of it. I would like to stop it. But it's doing it through medications. Well, I also lose other parts of myself through the medication, and I don't want to do that. I think that's why I'm having a little trouble at this point. I just wanted to say, if anyone out there knows what to do, I mean, let me know, because I really don't know. I've accepted that I won't have a relationship, and I've accepted that I won't have a lot in my life. Due to the personality disorder, it does keep me from accomplishing a lot, including writing my book, including creating my new channel, which I want to monetize, which is separate from this. It is psychology based, but it's not personal. I have a lot on my plate, and I it's like that becomes an external object, and then I kind of fight with it. And I guess I'm gonna have to go for dialectical behavior therapy. I thought I'd be able to work around it, and I definitely have been able to get to a point of much further down the road. But there's something at the core which is just messed up, and that core seems to come back whenever I try to focus, like I used to be able to. When I get down to it, and it's just me and something in front of me without any distractions, I can't seem to handle it anymore. Yeah, I'm going to try. I'm going to try again today, this weekend. If any of you have any suggestions, let me get on it, because it's just a matter of time until I end up with another, in a lot of trouble. Well, no, I'm never in a lot of trouble. I've never been in a lot of trouble. I've always been in a lot of little trouble. Never ending. And you know what? I've met 2 borderlines since I've been out of the closet, so to speak, as a borderline. Since I've known that I'm a borderline, I've understood that I certainly am a borderline. I met 2 of them, and they're both so much like me, I can't believe it. In the sense that they're always in trouble, but nothing ever big. Little things, right? A lot of arguments with people, domestics, disturbance of the peace. One guy was exhibitionism, having sex with someone outside. I mean, all these things that are basically, they're not, there's no real victim. The victim is themselves or myself. That's the truth. With borderline, we tend to hurt ourselves, whether we know it or not. And, it's a very rich experience to live as a borderline. I mean, I have got more emotion out of this morning than a lot of men get their entire month. And I feel bad for them. I watch MGTOW videos, and they're always preaching about, don't be emotional, don't be emotional. And I say, my God, what is there to life if not to be emotional? Why do we drink, take drugs, go on vacations, make love, fall in love, if not for emotions? And, I guess I understand right now at this moment. I'm seeing what he's saying. It's like, don't let small things trigger me. I guess that's the problem. I like being emotional when it's, if we're talking about business or talking about an issue of trauma, we're talking about a recovery, and we're talking about anything that really matters. I guess, I wouldn't want not to be borderline. I like being borderline because I can be a fucking animal when I want to be, or when I feel I have to be. My back is up against the wall. I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. I'm not gonna fight back, but I'll get back down to the understanding. which is a greater fight than to fight back. War does not work. And I guess that's what borderline is. A lot of it is war within oneself. It's like the side of me that was raised and developed by my sick father is constantly in battle with the side of me that was raised by my narcissistic, but well-meaning mother. I don't think my mother wanted to hurt or destroy me. Everything she did that hurt and destroyed me was to protect herself or to hurt my father. But I was being used. My father, on the other hand, directly assaulted me. My mother never hit me, maybe once or twice slapped me, but she was not physically abusive. And my father was physically and sexually abusive. Now, my mother may have used him. She may have told him, go hit him. I don't know. But, I have two sides. I have my mother's narcissistic side. And when I say narcissistic, I don't really mean unhealthy. I wasn't raised to have an unhealthy narcissism. I was raised to have a healthy narcissism. You need to be relatively balanced and realize, I'm better at some things, worse at others. I'm not perfect. That's my mother's side. Her whole side of her family is very intelligent, but she put it down because it was poor. And her family were poor probably because they were intelligent. Because as I've discovered, if you achieve a modicum of wisdom in your life as a man before achieving great wealth, well, that wisdom will often tell you stop chasing the great wealth. You're wasting your hours, your life. Wealth will come if you do what you love. And it won't take nearly as long, nearly as many heartaches, nearly as many problems as just chasing wealth unto itself. I've given up a lot in my life, but I have not given up on the concept of becoming wealthy, because I have not given up on the concept of doing what I like to do, what I want to do. I've given up on the thought of chasing wealth, which never worked, because the more money I made, and I made a lot of money at times, the more money I would spend to try to make more, because that's all there was. And I know a lot of guys in that trap like that, and they're trapped. And it seems they lost a lot of appreciation for the beauty of the world and just for the wonders of nature. And they've lost a lot of empathy towards people unless you pull it out of them. Their motivations are ulterior, they're empathic, usually they're financial, and often they repress them, so they forgot. They forgot why they support certain things. Now, when you bring it to consciousness and you make them realize, it's because they bought stocks in that, and they've been holding those stocks for 15 years, well, then they become a lot more empathic. They realize, oh yeah, that's why. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't even know if anyone's watching my videos. I have not watched or read any comments in months, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this weekend. I'm getting a little bit sick of being in this state, because I have to accept it. I've recovered every bit of information about my family, about my trauma, about my brother's death, about psychopaths, about borderlines, about narcissism. I've uncovered and read everything there is. And it's time for me to put it together as I have formulated as a website, Trauma Circles, as a channel, which I won't tell you yet because I haven't gotten the name. It's separate from this one, but you'll love it. As my book, Death of a Comedian. Those projects are still everything I want to do. And I keep talking about them. And I think it's because I'm fucking traumatized. I don't know where to start. And it's all going to be so heavy. But I think once I start reading your comments again, I know myself. I know myself well. I know the way the system is programmed. And I have what Sam Vaknin called external locus of control. I never realized it. But I can't. I feel like I need someone there to say. They say behind every man is a good woman. And I'll tell you, when I've had a good woman, or even an awful woman, I've worked 20 times as hard. It's just that, you know, there's motivation, or there's it seems like when you have a woman, there's like a time for pleasure and a time for work. And when you're all by yourself, it's kind of mixed in, and it doesn't help that I'm traumatized. It doesn't help that I haven't started. And I'm sure once I started, just like I started recording videos and now I'm doing them more often, uh, I'm going to take a first step on something today. Because if I don't have anything to show you guys next video, you know, I'm going to blow my head off. Because I'm getting sick of it. And the weather does not help. It still is not summer outside. I think it's starting on Monday. So I have 2 more days. If I can get it together after I upload this video, and by Monday have something on one of those projects, or all 3 of them, because I tend to work better as an ADHD guy with more than one project, progress to at least step 1, you know, 0.05 out of version 1, well then I'll be okay. And I'll have some great stuff for you guys, because, you know, I'm not very articulate when I talk. I ramble on. I'm not a speaker. I'm a writer. I went to university to write, and I can write well. I mean, my comments on other people's videos are a lot more rich than these videos themselves. And I feel bad about that. But the other way, you know, I'm not going to structure my videos until I change the channel name, and then make sure it's going to be monetized, and, you know, it'll be something that can grow with YouTube, because I see the platform as just not meant for this. This is going to be for trauma circles. It's different, you know. It's different. You guys don't want to hear everything that's going on in my mind unless you're actually going through it yourself. And it's just not that many of us. You know, reality, how many people out there have recently discovered that their parents were sexually abusing them, and it killed their sibling, and then it destroyed their own life? You know, I would say maybe 1,000 people at a time. I can't imagine more than that are going through the actual trauma of, like, repressing memories and everything. I'm saying 1,000 on, you know, between the USA and Canada. I mean, and I think once 2 or 3 years passes, you know, you get over it. You're out of that state. You'll stop watching the videos all the time. I've stopped. I used to be, I mean, for 2 years I stopped watching nonstop, but it comes to a point where you've seen everything, you know, and you've processed it into its tragedy, and there's only so much you can process the same meat and eat it again. So I'm gonna let it go here, and hopefully next video you see I'll have something to show you guys with a link, because I'm gonna fucking kill myself if I don't get something going. I'm sick of going out and getting the cans. You know, I make a good living, but I don't make a good living. I mean, I make a living to live, and I'm not wanting of anything, but you know, it's boring. I'm sick of it. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's still fun. I still like it, but just not every day all the time. You know, I don't have to do it every day. I only do it once a week, and I make enough to last me the week. So really, I got a pretty good system going, but it's not going to last forever. And that's something I've learned in life. You cannot rest on your laurels. You know, things change. My system has changed so many times since I started 2 years ago. I mean, I've only made it more efficient, but there have been setbacks where things have changed. You know, all that has to happen is recycling day needs to be changed to a day where people, now it's on Sunday, the day after everyone drinks. Well, that's great, because it means everyone's Saturday night's going directly into recycling. If they change that recycling day to like a Wednesday, my money will be cut in half overnight, like that. No one will know they're affecting me. Just that's the way it'll work. They'll start throwing their cans into the garbage, and I don't go into the garbage. I only go into recycling, which are clean, and which, you know, you can get 100 cans in a bag. I've learned to to do it right. Anyways, I'm just saying that I've got to get things going. That's not a way to make a living the rest of my life. I've been telling you guys I have projects, and, you know, I owe it to everyone. I owe it to myself, and maybe it'll get me out of this state of mind, because I'm getting tired of it, and I'm really getting. I feel like if I'm not going forward, I'm going backwards. No, I'm going to stop there. Thanks for watching, guys. I don't know how many people are into my story or what, and I really don't. I really don't care as long as there's one. That's all I need. It is so cold today. It's the last day. It's going to be 0 degrees, but it's freezing. It's freezing outside. And having post-traumatic stress disorder and having to stay in your small apartment is no fun. I can sit here and talk to you for 24 hours saying nothing because I feel like a trapped animal. I feel like I'm sitting in a prison cell. You're my cellmate, and we got nothing. Nothing but each other. All right. Enough of that.